Oh my goodness. I just did a rookie mistake that you cannot do in 2026. That means talking on mute for the last minute or so. How are you doing, Lisa? Oh, Lisa, you're on mute as well. And we initially had this to stream via the SETA LinkedIn page, but there was a connection issue, so I am now streaming this through my LinkedIn page in case you were looking to see it on social media. If you're in the chat, go ahead and tell us where you're from, how cold is it, how your Monday is treating you. Tell us where you're at right now. Lisa, do we have you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Hi, Lisa. How you feeling today, Miss Lisa? Oh, we lost you again, Lisa. Oh, Lisa, it looks like your mic is going in and out. It says it goes off of mute and then back on mute.
Something's going on with my computer, but sorry about that. Something's wrong with our internet. But no, the weather's great here. It's actually the temperatures have been going up and down. So
I got you. Temperature's going up and down, and that microphone's going up and down, Lisa, because we lost you. We lost you mid sentence. Why don't you go ahead and exit out and then come back in while we're letting everybody roll in? Teresa, 24 degrees feels like 11. Where in Michigan are you at, Teresa? Greetings all. We got sunny Tampa. Jody. I'm right with you, Jody. We're on the same page. Even though you can see I had to break out my one I don't know, would you call this a cardigan? What is this thing I'm even wearing? Whatever this thing is, this allows me to be warm in this Florida weather. Hey Lisa, you back?
I'm back.
You're back. Go ahead and leave the mute off because I'm not getting any feedback anyway, so you're good. Go ahead and leave that off and see if that helps us at all.
Okay, I will.
Awesome. And it looks like we are live on LinkedIn now. I was having a little issue with the connection via the SETA page, so now we were on the live page. Let's see what else we have here, Lisa. We have Lansing in the building. We have Bradford County in the building. PA, it's cold. We got Michigan Works, Key Largo, Florida. What's the weather in Key Largo right now? 62. I could take 62 right now. What do you think? Let's get our comments a little larger here for us too, so we can see what's going on here. Jody, you got 2 sweaters. Good for you, Jody. That's you're a Floridian. You get it. Sherry, South Carolina. It's chilly. Danielle, -3. Where are you at, Danielle? Where is Danielle at -3? Goodness gracious. Lisa, what would you do on a -3 day?
Not go outside.
Not go outside.
Have to call in sick. That's not what we want to do. No, bundle up.
Oh my goodness. So I have 12:05. We have a free workshop, free webinar for you in preparation of the SETA conference in Orlando next week. Registration online is closed, but you can register on site if you still want to go. So if you're somewhere where it's cold and you're like, hey, I'd like to get a little warmer, come to Orlando and join us for SETA. We have an incredible lineup. We have 2 panels. They have me doing a pre-con and like 45 million other things. So if you're a fan of some of the stuff I do, you can be overwhelmed with it at the conference, I suppose. And then Lisa, you want to introduce them to who you are and what you do and your role at SETA?
Yes. Okay. So I am Lisa Thomas. I'm the treasurer, and then my regular job. I work for Southwest Alabama Partnership for Training and Employment, which is in Mobile, Alabama, and I am the vice president of finance for that organization. So, thank y'all all for joining us, and I hope you're going to join us at SETA. It is, and if you have not been to a SETA conference, it is a great conference. And being in Orlando, you're going to have a great time.
I love it. And then what just I want to get this stream over on the SETA page as well. So can you let me know, Lisa, what can people expect at a SETA conference? You know, we hear about conferences, we hear about networking. What kind of stuff can they expect to happen if they attend with us?
So, if you've never been before, the first time I went, I guess it's been, I don't know, almost 12 years ago. SETA was one of the best conferences that I had ever attended, and I wanted to be a part of it. So, that's why I became the treasurer. I got to network with people. I got to meet people. Being in finance, I got to meet program people. I got to see it also from that side of it. I got to attend different things. People, it was very interesting because a lot of the problems and challenges that I deal with at work, some of the same people from other states deal with the same issues. So we talked about them. Even outside of the workshops, we became friends. So there are people that I see that I'm still friends with. And when I go home, I still connect with those people. And some of them I use as a good resource and call them and say, hey, I've got this going on. What did you do in this situation? And they give me a lot of insight. So we feed off of each other. So you'll experience that as well as having a great time being at a great location, great food. There's lots of always good food at SETA. Our organizers, they put on an amazing job and really know how to host people and make them feel like family.
I love it. I agree. And right now it looks like we have about 25 people in our webinar. And then we're also streaming via X, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So thank you for everybody joining us. Let's get this thing started. As someone who's ever participated in a webinar or workshop with me, I like communication. I like back and forth. So in that chat, do not be a stranger. Participate, answer questions. Let's have a conversation. And then Lisa is going to help me with this. So let's talk about active listening. In the chat, give me, and let me make these a little larger so we can see our feedback here. Let's go wide right there for now. In the chat, what does it mean to be an active listener? Let me ask you this. What is one thing you need to be an active listener? There's a bunch of different skills that go with communicating. What's one thing you need to be an active listener? Tell me in the chat. And then Lisa, what do you think? What's the one characteristic thing you need to be an active listener?
One characteristic, I always try to, when I'm trying to hear what someone has to say, or if they have a problem or an issue, I try to really relate. Sometimes you can relate. It might be a direct relation that you have with the problem they're experiencing, or it might be something that you have had a family member experience, or it might be something close. And I try to feel what they're feeling and put myself in their position and then try to help. How would I want to be treated in that situation? If I was walking through the door and sitting down and wanting something and wanting to look for employment or wanting someone to help me, how would I want to feel? That's the main thing that I do.
I agree. And in our chat there, Allison says be present, which I think is an underrated suggestion, because with so much for us that wants to get our attention and so many things that are battling for our attention, can you truly be present for someone when you're interacting with them? Or are you thinking about your grocery list or your lunch break or your unread emails or the Orlando conference? Steven is focused on Orlando being too cold, apparently, because he's a born and raised Floridian like me. I don't know. There's a lot going on, but can you be present? Jody says an open ears, open heart is very big. Steven says 2 ears and a mouth. Yeah, you know what? 2 ears and a mouth can go a long way. Even just sometimes just the ears. They might not want you to talk or dominate the conversation. Danielle says empathy. And if you know me, you can't do too much without empathy, in my opinion. And then to focus on a speaker, listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. All right, so let's do this. Let's jump into our webinar. I'm gonna move fast. I'm gonna move quick, and I am gonna rely on your feedback in the chat for this conversation. So let's move these comments down a little bit so we can see on our screen. All right, 2 questions to remember when active listening. Lisa, I have 2 here that if everything I say, you're like, I don't know about this guy. I'll see him in Orlando, but I'm not a fan of him virtually. But if 2 things you take away from this webinar, these are the ones that stand out to me. And the first one is asking when you're active listening or when you're engaging with someone, what is my goal? What am I trying to accomplish by engaging in this conversation, being a listener with this person? So to the chat, what do you think is the purpose of asking yourself, what is my goal? And then Lisa, what do you think when I say that? What do you think I'm getting at? If you and I engage in a conversation, if a participant or a student comes to the center, why might it be important to say, all right, what is my goal when I engage this customer? What is my goal when I engage this participant? Why might that be important to the active listening space?
Well, I think that people, when you say, what is my goal? I think that's a great way to look at how to help people, because I think people like to help people. So it makes you feel good. I think about even yourself when somebody walks away and says, God, that person helped me with this challenge, or I've got some reason to go on now. I've got some reason to move on. I mean, you don't know when you talk to somebody, if they're really struggling about something, you might give them a bright light of just, they might be just having a bad day, and you gave them an avenue to look forward. So I think that is a good goal that I do when I try to help somebody. And I don't try to make it complicated. I try to make it easy. So here's the process. Here's how you can do it. And let's not complicate it.
I like it. Yeah, and we really have to ask ourselves is, okay, in this interaction, is my goal here for them to create a culture where they feel respected? Is my goal here to establish rapport, trust? Is it my goal here to give advice that they'll take? Is my goal here to set ground rules and expectations? All of these different types of goals influence your communication style or your communication approach. And then the other thing about asking what your goal is, it allows you to be intentional in the moment if you get away from it. In other words, if my goal is to create a culture of collaboration with you, to make you feel heard, and then I find myself dominating the conversation, or I find my mind going elsewhere, I'm going to be more likely to be able to self-adjust if what I'm doing in this moment does not align with the goal I set out for this moment. So you're just being real intentional and honest with yourself is, all right, what am I trying to accomplish? Why am I engaging this person, and why am I committed to listening to them? And then the second question, which sometimes we overlook because we get too caught up in what our goal is what do they need from me? Wait a minute, what do they need in this moment? And when I say this, tell me in the chat, why do you think this might be important to consider what that person needs in that moment when engaging with them, when active listening? How might it affect the conversation if their need doesn't match the way I'm communicating? What are your initial thoughts on that, Lisa, as far as you have a participant or a customer you're interacting with? How might it affect your communication style, assessing, well, what do they actually need in this moment?
Well, I think that when somebody sits down with you, they're probably going to tell you their need. You may have to get it out of them, but you're going to get it because that's going to be something that they repeat, I think, in the conversation. I need more money. I'm looking for a better opportunity. It'll be something that is all in relation to the big need that they want from you. So I think that if you focus on that one thing that they're kind of trying to tell you that they need, and how can we get from A to B, I think that is a big thing. If you just try to focus on the big picture of it without going into a whole realm of things that really complicates their mind, and you keep it simple. how to get them from one place to another.
Absolutely. Yeah, in this moment, does this person need me to listen? Do they need an immediate answer to a question? Do they need a service right away? Do they just need some education and uh, dialogue about what we offer? Do they just need to be heard? All of these different type of needs require a slightly different approach when engaging with them. And then Teresa says, if the person's needs are not met in conversation, they become frustrated, and that's absolutely true. Think about it when if you've ever went to your supervisor and you needed your supervisor to truly hear you about something that's happening, and instead of them hearing you, they pivot to a different topic of maybe, well, here's what I need you to do, or hey, have you got that report in or got your case notes in, or hey, I hear what you're saying, but I need details on this other thing that's critical by the end of today. You came to them with a specific need, and they said, I hear you, but the needs I have are a priority in this moment. That's just naturally going to create some defensiveness, some frustration, some anxiety, which then is going to lead to a closed mind. And to Allison's point, it could lead the participant to shut down. And if somebody is shut down, they're just waiting to either get it combative with you. In other words, because you made me feel like I'm not heard, now let me respond to you to show you I'm not hearing you either. Or they're just looking for an out or an exit of that conversation. They just want to be done with it because they've seen, okay, this person doesn't prioritize my need. And then Steven says, in our line of work, you also want to assess safety early on. Yeah, very much. If this is an issue where there's an immediate, we need compliance, we need to help, we need to assist because there's a safety concern, we're assessing that as well. So in the very beginning of an interaction, when you're attempting to engage, motivate, serve, it's all about, all right, what is my goal? And does my approach help me get there? And then what is their need? And is how I'm responding to them aligning with that from their perspective. Just a little background of me, if you don't know, I worked in a group home. I was a director of a Y, program manager, transition director of a juvenile justice program, founder of Speak for MC, and now Florida State rep for C.A.P.E. That was a very tough election, a lot of campaigning. It went back and forth. The media was all over it. I'm just playing. Nobody ran against me. So I just got it. Lisa, remind us what your title is in C.A.P.E. again?
We have terrible internet here. I said I'm the treasurer.
The treasurer. Did you have to run against anybody, Lisa?
Oh, the president. How the organization works is the president and the vice president, or the second vice president. The executive board kind of make the selection of the treasurer to kind of assign them.
So there's a lot of opportunities in C.A.P.E. If you want to get involved, if you want to run a campaign, maybe someone will go against you. No one went against me, but there's a lot of opportunities for you to get involved if you want to try to affect change on an even larger level, being a part of the C.A.P.E. organization. If you want to do that, reach out to me, reach out to Lisa, and we can make it happen. All right, let's talk about some of the key skills of active listening, and we put it down in a acronym called lend an ear. Right? Makes sense. There's my dog Watts. He has his ear up. Lend an ear. What we're going to talk about is empathy, avoid roadblocks, and responding. When do we respond? How do we respond? What does that look like when we are active listening? So let's start with empathy. Before we dive into empathy real quick, and tell me in the chat, when you hear the word empathy, and I know it might seem like a simple question, but I can tell you how often I travel to different places and I ask, and the answers kind of shift from place to place. When you hear the word empathy, what does that mean in active listening? What does it mean to be an empathetic listener? Lisa, what do you think? What comes to mind when you hear empathy?
You kind of put yourself in their shoes, feel what they're feeling, make them feel good, that kind of thing. You're really
I like that. You put yourself in their shoes. You try to see their perspective. And tell me in the chat, why does that matter? Like, why does it matter if you can put yourself in their shoes? In need, it helps others. Yes. Empathy could also mean being compassionate. Siobhan says the ability to be in tune with the person's thoughts and feelings is really important. Absolutely. I like all of that. So if you don't know, empathy, it has been a foundational component of a lot of evidence-based practices and a lot of studies. And the main reason for that is they found out that when someone interacts with an empathetic, non-judgmental listener, it reduces defensiveness and it reduces anxiety. So think about it like when you're communicating with someone, especially about a topic that might be vulnerable, how you are receiving them in that conversation impacts how much more you're going to engage with it, right? If I feel in that moment that as I'm talking and as I'm sharing, you're judging me, that's going to give me the cue to be like, oh, wait a minute. I feel judged. I wonder why they're judging me. Are they going to share this information elsewhere? Are they going to now try to debate or argue with me or put me in a box? You know what? I'm just going to stop talking. Whereas empathy creates an interaction that says, I'm willing to hear you without judgment. And by the way, when you're listening without judgment, that does not mean that you condone their behavior. That does not mean you agree with their behavior. That just means you have a genuine interest in understanding it, which is extremely, extremely powerful. And then Danielle says when someone feels heard or cared for, they're more likely to open up and feel safer. Absolutely, Danielle. You sound like someone who's been part of an empathy workshop before. And I think you have. That's a great way to word it. And then it definitely, Allison says, helps build trust. Yes, it does. So let's look at the two types of empathy here for a second. There is cognitive empathy. And Lisa, after I break these down, I'm interested to hear which of these you find that you kind of lean into the most. There's cognitive empathy, and this is all about perspective taking. This is when someone just wants to feel heard and you truly care about their worldview, because everybody is the main character of their own movie. Everybody sees the world a very specific way. When you practice cognitive empathy, you're saying my main priority, my main goal, going back to our initial question, is to try to see the world from your lens, to try to see the world from your angle, to try to understand what led you to behave in the way you did or make the choices that you did. So cognitive empathy is primarily about perspective taking. Now, Lisa, to have empathy on a cognitive level, it does require us to do something that could be very hard for people. Any guesses what that might be? And then I open that to the chat too. Why do you think cognitive empathy is sometimes hard for people? What could make this challenging? What do you think, Lisa?
It's helping someone may not actually.
We lost you there. We lost you there, Miss Lisa. No worries. But I think I know where you're going. You said in order to practice cognitive empathy, you have to have a desire to help someone, but also that desire to help them has to supersede your need in that moment. In other words, if they're the main character in a movie, that means you are too, but your movie doesn't matter in that moment. It's all about prioritizing their worldview. And for someone, that could be very difficult depending on the situation. Like I badly want to help. I feel I know what direction we need to go. I don't feel heard. So now I don't necessarily want to give you the space to feel heard because I'm frustrated. There are a lot of factors that can get in the way of practicing cognitive empathy. And then Aaron says it can be hard to imagine another person's perspective if it's very different than your own. That is 100% true. Thank you for seeing that, Aaron. Sometimes we'll see behaviors or hear stories that we just think, I can't even wrap my brain around why someone would do that, or how someone could live that way, or why someone would make that choice. I don't get it. It makes no sense, right? We have this thought in our mind, which is very normal. What you have to do from a cognitive empathy standpoint is understand the reason you're coming to that perspective is because you're viewing it from your lens as the main character. So the idea is to push that aside and be truly curious in trying to see the worldview. Just the very act, the expectation with cognitive empathy, and this is a little different than emotional empathy, but the expectation with cognitive empathy is not to truly know what they're feeling, or to completely understand what they're saying. Cognitive empathy is just about the act of wanting to, of being curious to trying to get it. Because in that experience, that'll create that natural relationship for openness and trust, right? So you're just truly curious what led to that behavior. I just want to understand it so deeply on a meaningful level. Whereas emotional empathy, which Aaron's comment can also go to, is you actually feel what it's like to experience what they're going through. So this is like if you got a call from a colleague who had a death in the family, you're reflecting on a time when you maybe lost someone, so that you can sit with them emotionally and you can truly feel what it's like to experience what they're going through. Cognitive empathy is I have a curiosity to try to understand it through questioning, listening, reflecting, taking a deep dive into what their worldview is. Emotional empathy is I have a true interest in feeling it, because I can reflect on a time where I went through something similar or experienced a situation that led to how they're feeling. Both of these types of empathy are incredibly powerful, and you can't get to change or engaging people in meaningful change without at least one of these. Both are ideal, but sometimes you can't do both. So you got to ask yourself, okay, what's my goal? Is it to connect with this person on an emotional level, establish trust? Then that's emotional empathy. Is it to understand underlying motivations and reasons? That's cognitive empathy. So that's why the very first question we talked about is saying, okay, what's my goal? Now, sometimes people don't want to be questioned and have to take a deep dive of where they're coming from. Sometimes they just want to feel heard and they just want to feel you care. So that's why you might have to lean in emotional empathy. And then other times we really got to solve some problems so we can get you the appropriate resources and find if you'll commit to them. That's where cognitive empathy will come into play. Lisa, thoughts on one of these two? Which do you find yourself kind of leaning into versus cognitive and emotional empathy? Oh, and the one you might be leaning into, Lisa, right now is emotional empathy with frustration of your microphone not working. And I have been there before, so I can emotionally empathize with you. No worries. Just you being here with me so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself is helping me. So keep messing around with it. If you want to go off of mute at times just to see if it's working, let's make it happen. So the very first one is emotional cognitive empathy. For the chat, which of these two types of empathy do you find yourself using the most? Which of these two types of empathy do you use in the workplace? I'm putting this in the chat too. So out of the cognitive and emotional empathy, what has the more prominent role in you, with you when helping other people? This is a question for the chat. Let me know. Is it cognitive, taking a step back and trying to understand someone's underlying motivations? Or is it emotional empathy, trying to sit with them on an emotional level, using your experiences to show them you feel what they're going through? Which ones do you tend to lean in the most? Danielle says cognitive. Cognitive is very, and we have a lot of cognitive. Sissy says cognitive. Eugenia, cognitive. Allison, cognitive. Yeah. So for those of us that work in a field where you have to solve problems and you have to help people resolve barriers, it makes sense that cognitive empathy would be a little more prevalent. But then Aaron notices that the emotional part is important as well. And then Teresa says, start with one of the others and then transition to the other one. And that's a really good answer, Teresa, because maybe right away the participant comes to you or a customer comes to you and they have a problem they need solved. You might lean into cognitive first to really figure out, okay, what is the problem? Why is this a problem? What is motivating them to address the problem? Cognitive. Or Teresa, you might have someone come to you who just is feeling down on themselves, is really emotionally exhausted from what they're experiencing, and they don't want to be questioned about their motivations. Maybe they just want to feel heard. So I think that's a good answer, Teresa. And then a similar comment, both there's a fine line between one and the other. Yeah, there is a fine line for sure. They blend together naturally, but sometimes there'll be situations where you're like, I'm just going to lean into one. And then Steven says with family and close friends, emotional tends to be more prominent there. And then Amira says leads to action. Leads to feelings, then acting. You feel like to think about the situation, then act is an active dynamic. I agree with that. Good job. Okay, so the first part is empathy. So let's say we're having empathy and we're active listening. Like with anything, there are some roadblocks that come into play. So what I want you to do in the chat is tell me, was this a yay in reference to active listening or a nay? In other words, yay, they were a great active listener, or nay, I am not a fan of how this thing went down. And do we even say yay or nay anymore? I'm not quite sure, but I ended up doing it because it rhymes. Lisa, any chance that microphone is working again? No? All right. All good. Then here, let's we're gonna see my acting. My hope was that I was going to have you as a co-star, but now it's just going to be me playing two roles. But I'm going to pretend like I'm talking to you, Lisa. All right, look, the staff says, I am frustrated. The coworker says, hey, what's going on? Staff, I don't know if I'm even making a difference anymore. My boss isn't listening to me. I'm just starting to think that this job is not for me. Then the coworker goes, all right, here's what you need to do. Go tell your boss. Matter of fact, before you leave today, tell your boss how you feel. And the staff might say, yeah, but, and a coworker goes, no buts. You were frustrated. Go fix it. Most people quit their jobs without even telling their boss. You don't want to be most people. Go tell your boss today. So, Lisa, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if as far as how well did we have active listening in this moment. What do you think, Lisa? It says a quick thumbs down. What about in the chat? How did we do here with active listening? Was this a yay? Was this a nay? How would you rate this type of approach to active listening? I got a lot of nays off the bat. Nobody's been this coworker before. No one's said, hey, you know what you need to do? This is what you need to do. This, I'm telling you, just listen to me. No one's ever had that approach. All right, I'm seeing a lot of no on active listening, a lot of nays on active listening. Yes, this one is a nay because this one we are ordering, commanding, or lecturing our coworker. How often do you order, command, or lecture people? Whether it would be in your personal life, whether it be at your workplace with your participants, your clients, your customers, or whether it be in your with your colleagues, or if you're a supervisor with your team members. How often, and let's keep it real here, it's not like this is being live streamed anywhere, so you can be honest. How often do you order people? How often do you lecture them? In what situations might you lecture them or order them? Lisa, do you ever lecture or order people? You're probably ordering or lecturing your microphone to start working, but it's not very It's not being effective. Oh, Aaron says, oh, I've definitely been that coworker. Oh, that's a good idea, Lisa. You can go in the chat too. I didn't even think about that. Lisa, Aaron, you're lecturing people from time to time. Why might you lecture someone, Aaron? What might lead you to do that? Natasha says, I don't at all. If somebody works with Natasha and has been lectured by Natasha before, I want you to go in the chat right now. We're going to test this out, Natasha. Oh, Siobhan said, I do this with my children. Yes. Yes, if you're a parent, I imagine you have commanded or lectured before. Danielle says, don't lecture with participants. Aaron says, I cannot mind my own business. Jody says, in crisis situations, you might need this approach. Yep. This is a good point. So let's just pivot on that for a second, Jody. So what we're talking about for the yay or the nay is, does this approach encourage active listening and collaboration? I think we agree it doesn't encourage active listening or collaboration because you're just dictating what they should do. But to your point, Jody, if it's an immediate need, a crisis, an issue where safety is a concern, then you might need compliance, which is do what I'm saying, do it right now. We have to solve this issue. Just remember that commanding, ordering, complying, mandating someone, it's always short term. It won't have a long-term effect on change, but you might get that immediate response for sure. Lisa is ordering her children at home. You know, I think every parent can relate to that. And then Eugenia says, I don't lecture order customers. We have established dialogue with mutual respect. I agree. Good job. Okay, let's look at number 2 that sometimes gets in the way. I am not going to act this out because I just got a direct message that my acting skills are embarrassing for SETA. I'm not going to say who said that. So I don't want to further embarrass SETA with my performance. You know, I thought I could get an Academy Award, but apparently not. So with that being said, I'm going to give you just a minute, not even that long, like 30 seconds. Read the scenario on the screen and tell me if this is a yay or if this is a nay. And then once you're ready, Lisa, too, give me a thumbs up. Is this approach a yay or a thumbs down? Is this approach a yay or a nay? Let me know in the chat. How do you think they did with active listening in this one? How did the coworker do? All right, we got some votes coming in. Nay. Lisa, are you a thumbs up or a thumbs down? You're a thumbs up. Oh, Lisa likes this approach. Okay. Let's say Aaron is a nay. So we have 2 nays to 1 yay. Let's see. Danielle says, nay, it's solution focused, but not listening. Okay. So we are trying to solve a problem, but did we listen? So I have 3 nays and 1 yay. Anybody else? You think this is a yay or nay approach? What do you think? How did the coworker do? And I do notice that there is a lot of problem solving in this particular situation. All right, let's look. It is a nay. It is a nay. This one is giving advice and making suggestions too soon. Has anyone here in this webinar, looks like we have about 30 people in the webinar, another 10 or so on the live stream. Has anyone here ever received unsolicited advice? Advice they did not ask for. Has anyone here ever got unsolicited advice? in the like, what about in the last week? Has anyone here ever got unsolicited advice? Who all the time? Allison. I'm sorry, Allison. Oh, Danielle. Yes, frustrated. Just for fun, in the spirit of calling people out, who in your life gives you the most unsolicited advice? Who in your life gives you the most unsolicited advice? Oh, yeah. Sometimes the advice can help. That's true. Uh-oh, Allison. Allison's calling it out. Her husband's giving her all this advice. Allison don't have time for this. Allison's like, just listen to me. Stop trying to solve my problems. Danielle, my mother. Lisa, my older brother. My mom. And this is actually, look, all of this is family. This is very common at his family. Because sometimes the more emotionally connected we are to the people, the less inclined we are to just pause and listen for a while, because we feel we already know them and we know what they need, and we're like, just get it done. What are you talking about? Here's the solution. And we actually get away from the things that can sometimes matter. Yeah, so here's a spoiler for you. Almost always the issue of the problem is not a lack of solutions. We can find solutions. You could Google a solution. You can go on Amazon and buy a book about the solution. You can use AI to get 45,000 solutions in 10 seconds now these days, right? Often it's not the solution, it's the drive, the motivation, the belief that you can carry out the solution. And that's a whole nother issue. And the only way to truly figure out how to solve that is to prioritize listening and understanding first. So I am not in this webinar telling you to not give advice to people. I'm just saying, try to give it at a time that increases the likelihood they'll actually take it. Because how frustrating is it when you give someone advice and they say they're going to take it, and then you follow up in a week and nothing's changed? Now you're annoyed and they're annoyed, right? So ask them, can I give you some advice? Maybe they'll ask you for advice, but try to give it at a time where it's going to be taken. And then Suzanne says, I might shut down instead of it being an open discussion. 100%. So just, be timely with the advice you give. Let's look at one more. Read this one. This one cracks me up. I saw this in my case management days, a staff having this conversation with a student. This is a real one that I saw. Go ahead and read this and let me know if this is a yay or a nay with regard to active listening. Give me your thoughts on this one. It is a yay or a nay regarding active listening, and this is inspired by a real communication, a real dialogue. Let me know what you think. Allison, a nay? Why is that a nay, Allison? Why is that one a nay? Oh, we got another nay. Why is that a nay, Danielle? Another nay. Another nay. Another one. Okay. Allison says, the student wasn't asking for the facts. I don't want your facts. All right, I got all nays on here. Yes. Have you ever tried this approach, Lisa? Let me show you all the data of why the way you feel, you should not feel the way you feel. That usually doesn't work. I don't know if it was Lisa or Allison saying your husband's always giving you advice. Yeah, so if I feel a certain way and you want to logically explain why I should not feel that way, now you're gonna have to logically explain why I shouldn't be angry at you for giving me advice I didn't want, right? This one right here is when we respond to emotion with logic. There is a saying that you cannot emotionally you cannot logically connect with an emotional response. The only way you can connect with an emotional response is by connecting directly with that emotion. Danielle says direct and negative comments cutting their dreams off could be a problem. Yep. Pushing buttons hurt right out the gate. Yep. Natasha says he didn't ask the child's thoughts as to why and what might have inspired them to want to be a rapper. Never asked about their feelings. Yeah, for those that consider themselves logical thinkers, you hear a problem, you hear something somebody's going through, and immediately in your brain, you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, or that's not true, or that's easy to fix. And then you want to present a logical response on why they should see it how you see it. But if I'm emotional, if I'm feeling a certain way, the problem with using logic is feelings are not logical. Feelings are subjective. Feelings are mine and mine alone. And your logic can't explain them away. If you don't believe me, think about your relationships. Next time you're in a debate, or next time your partner is upset about something, try to explain to them why they should not be upset. Like if your partner's like, I'm so angry, this happened, your first response, go ahead and tell them logically why them feeling angry doesn't make sense. And then let me know how that goes. Email me and let me know how that dialogue goes. You can introduce logic, but it's just about introducing it after you've already established trust and rapport, when they're open to hearing a different perspective. But the first thing we have to do is connect with them on an emotional level. We have to validate their feelings. And validating feelings is not the same thing as validating ideas or validating behavior. You're validating how they feel, and they have every right to feel how they want to feel in that situation. So we have to get away a little bit from the logical arguments. Before I proceed, go ahead in the chat and tell me 1, 2, or 3, which of these which one of these 3 is the hardest for you to avoid in the workplace. So I know personal, there might be a couple, but in the workplace, which of these 3 are sometimes the hardest for you to avoid? Ordering, giving advice too soon, or responding to emotion with logic, trying to logically explain it away. Which of these 3? We got, let's see here. We got Danielle with 2, Allison with 2, Stephanie with 2. Oh my goodness, all these 2s. So many 2s. We got a lot of problem solvers in the building. Lisa's a 2 as well. Everybody wants to solve those problems. We have 1 ordering. Shauna is the logical thinker. Teresa, advice, suggestions, solutions. Yeah. So I'm not sharing these on the webinar to say that you won't do them. You're going to do them. It's human to do them. I'm just sharing these so you can catch yourself. And going back to our first question we brought up, Lisa, what is my goal? You can catch yourself and say, okay, does this approach get me one step closer to my goal? If it does, keep rolling with it. If it doesn't, can we pivot, get away from these 3, and go to an interaction that more encourages active listening, collaboration, engaging that person? So let's go to our third one. And this is all about responding. Pop quiz, just to make sure people in the webinar are following me. In the chat, if we're doing the acronym EAR, what does the E stand for that we talked about? What's the E stand for? I just want to make sure people are with me right now. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Uh-oh. I'm getting a little nervous, Lisa. I'm getting nervous. What does the E stand for that we talked about? Thank you. Okay. People are making me feel better now. I was getting nervous, but everyone said empathy. Okay. So then what does the A stand for? What does the A stand for? And we just went through that one. So hopefully you're with me on that. What does the A in EAR stand for? Oh boy. Danielle? No, the training is active listening. So that's not the A, even though I appreciate that answer. I need somebody to save me here. Stephanie, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie, for saving me. Avoiding roadblocks, avoiding those 3 roadblocks. that we just discussed. I appreciate it so much. So then let's go to responding. And our responding goes all the way to knowing what to ask, because we cannot respond accordingly if the conversation isn't producing a dialogue, if that person isn't open and talking, if you're not drawing out and evoking conversation. And one of the best ways to do that is through open-ended questions. All right. I want to test the people that are in this right now. Put in the chat, in the webinar, what is an example of an open-ended question that you might ask a participant? Tell me right now in the chat, what is an example of a good open-ended question that you might ask a participant? Let's put some people to the test here. Let me hear it. What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? Allison, right off the bat with a good one. What do you think? It's a powerful question. Do you want a job versus what do you think about pursuing employment? These are two very different questions. What else we got? We have how do you study? What are your studying habits? This is a very good open-ended question as well. Lisa says, where do you see yourself in a year? That's a very powerful question that can drive thinking. If a year is too far, where do you see yourself at the end of this program? Where do you see yourself in a week? Maybe you got to simplify it. That's a really good question. What way do you think it should be done? What is your plan? How can I support? Yes, the purpose of an open-ended question is to tell the person your worldview, your perspective, and your answer is my priority. It's not answer in a way I want you to. It's not leading you in a certain direction. It's not picking from one of the answers I think you should choose. It's saying, I am giving you this question like a gift and saying, you can respond to it in any way you want. It is the most powerful way to hand over the reins of a conversation and truly active listen with someone. Now, when you ask a good open-ended question, in the beginning, they still might not talk a lot, or they might be hesitant to ask. That's because they're probably sizing you up and trying to determine, do you really care about the answer? Because some people can ask a good open-ended question, but they're not too invested in the answer. They're just trying to listen for certain things that they already believe to be true. When you're asking a true open-ended question, it's because you are genuinely curious with their worldview. As Steven did another open-ended question prompt that I use quite a bit. Yeah, help me understand. Break it down for me. What does that look like? Here's some other examples of some open-ended questions. Let's just do a pop quiz real quick. Instead of saying, do you want to enroll in our welding program? How can you change that to an open-ended question using one of those prompts on the screen? So go in the chat for me. Instead of saying, do you want to enroll in our trade program, in our welding program, in our carpentry program, how can you make that an open-ended question instead? And you can use one of the prompts that you see on your screen. How can you do it? Go ahead and change that closed-ended question to me, for me. What do you think? Do you want to enroll in our trade program? What can you do? Danielle, what do you think about enrolling? Yes, it's a very, very different question. Do you want to? Sure. What do you think? It's not really for me, but I'll do it because I think I have to. Like, these are very different insights into the person's worldview. How do you feel about exploring the webbing program? Really good one. You're tapping into that emotional component to understand, okay, what's their mindset? Is it creating anxiety? Are they excited? Are they motivated? All these things matter. What have you thought about enrolling? That's a very good one too. Hey, what are your thoughts on, enrolling in our program? What are your thoughts on what it's going to take to get it done? What made you even think about being here today? Why are you considering it? All good. What are your views about joining our trade programs? These are all such important programs or important questions. And you might think, well, these these questions are too nuanced or they'll give me too vague answers. When you ask these type of questions, you'll start to learn more about their worldview, their perspective. And not only will you start to learn, they'll start to learn and they'll assess, wait a minute, is this the direction I want to go? Which is very critical to learn that early on as opposed to a month after. And then now we're having to circle back and find out, why aren't they engaged in this process? And another one is tell me more about your plan to become an electrician. That's a good one too. I want to be an electrician. Instead of saying, awesome, let's get you in the program, tell me more about your plan to be an electrician. When you hear electrician, what do you think that means? When did you first start thinking that becoming an electrician could be a career path for you? All of these questions are going to give you so much more insight, give them insight, and increase the probability that we have thought through the areas we need to think through to encourage this thing to be successful. So open-ended questions are extremely, extremely powerful. What I'm going to do is send out a cheat sheet on these for you. Since we're already at 12:57, I'm going to send everyone a cheat sheet. And then at the C.A.P.E conference, I'm bringing a bunch of cheat sheets and handouts as well. Just a bunch of freebies that all have to do with engagement and influence and change. I'm also doing a pre-con where I'm going to give away a bunch of stuff. Real quick, in the spirit of active listening, I added this at the last second, Lisa, because someone had a discussion with me the other day about email etiquette. Let's just look at some active listening email etiquette tips. 1, do not send emails or texts when emotionally heightened. No matter how many times you felt you have reread that email, if you're frustrated, angry, or annoyed, you are going to miss things in that email because the emotion part of your brain's not going to let you see the whole picture. So take a step back, send it to someone objective, save it in your drafts to send later, or just send it into AI or ChatGPT. Just make sure if you use AI or any of those things to rephrase it, that you are then rereading it to make sure it's truly your voice and the message you're trying to put across, because it will add stuff. And then do not reply all unless everyone in that email needs the email. Use blind CC strategically, respond directly to the person. I just replied all to a couple emails this morning, so maybe I'm not doing my own thing that I just said, but hey, it's a growing journey and a growing experience. And then use emojis in your emails strategically. If it's 45 exclamation points and then 6 smiley faces, and then when the person sees you, you're angry, it's just going to be confusing in the way we're communicating. So use those things strategically. But if you do want to control the narrative a little bit in the email to make sure, hey, I'm not upset, here's a little smiley, that's fine too. Just a couple email tips to keep in mind. All right, active listening in an hour. Empathy. Can I take a true interest in understanding their worldview? Can I sit with how they're feeling? Avoiding roadblocks. Is the way I'm responding to them going to increase dialogue, increase collaboration, or is it going to influence me to take control of the dialogue when in reality it should be in their hands? And then when we're responding, are we responding with closed questions? Are we trying to dominate the interaction? Or are we saying, here are some open-ended questions for you to answer in any way you see fit so we can truly understand your worldview and you can think in a nuanced way about it as well. And those are some skills for active listening. Lisa, any chance that Mike is working for a little shout out on SETA? What do you think? No, it's all good, Lisa. I just appreciated you to be here with me in spirit. So again, I could stare at someone else instead of just staring at myself. Before we wrap up for our lunch active listening webinar, what questions or thoughts on the things we discussed do you have for me? What do you have for me? What thoughts, what questions do you want to bring to the table? Boy, an hour went fast. I might have to get some lunch here in a second. Yes, Lisa, I'm excited for SETA as well. Again, that is in a week. We're going to be in Orlando. I know Steven said that's too cold, but when you compare it to -3 Michigan, I think it's going to be good. There's a pool. It's outside. So I don't know if you're going to go for that, but there's a lot of indoor amazing space, amazing food, around 400 participants from obviously Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, the southern region, all coming together to learn from each other, learn tools, connect, network. It's just a really good time. It's fun. You get to unwind. So definitely registration online is closed, but you can register in person. I'll go ahead and put the website in the comments, seta.org, and we hope to see you soon. Before we wrap up, final thoughts, questions, and ideas. And then when I end the stream, we do have a little video for you to watch if you like. It's about a minute long. Any final thoughts or feedback before we wrap this thing up? Awesome. Thank you, Lisa, for co-hosting with me. I appreciate it. We did it. Technology isn't always fun, but we overcame just like we always will, right? So thank you, everybody, for joining me on your lunch. You didn't have to be here, but you chose to be here, and we truly appreciate that. Bye, everyone. See you in Orlando. Peace. I want to know if our speakers are ready. Let's make a couple phone calls. What's up, Nico? Roy Jones, what's up, man? Hope Cross, what is up? What's up, Robert? What's going on? I want to know, what are you bringing to the conference?
So I'll be hosting a workshop talking about growing your next leader, building internal leadership pipelines for workforce agencies.
I'm going to provide the participants in this session a list of the top 100 private funders in the Southeast.
I am delivering the keynote that opens the conference, and immediately after that, I have another workshop. So I'm really excited.
Well, first of all, this is where to be. You do not want to miss this conference. We have some really dynamic panelists that's going to be sharing their life experiences and workforce experiences. You know, don't delay. Register and get to Orlando.
I'd like it. I thought you were going to rhyme there. Don't delay, register today. It was right there just waiting for you, Robert.